2016 brought with it some amazing games, and in this video we'll be counting down our top 10 best games of 2016. For this list, we're only looking at consoles and PCs, so with that being said, let's get right into this. Number 10, Dishonored 2. Dishonored was one of the great new IPs of last generation, and this year Arcane Studios brought out the sequel, Dishonored 2. This game does a lot of what the first game did well, but even better, giving more control and options to the player and how you want to tackle different objectives. Straight from the beginning of the game, you're given the option of which of the two characters you want to play as, and from a gameplay standpoint, the options are much more open. The narrative was great. The only real shortcoming for the game was on the technical side. If you enjoyed the first Dishonored game, pick up Dishonored 2 ASAP. It's on PC, PS4, and Xbox One.
Combat Protocol 6. Each new visitor is another test for the Clockwork Soldiers. Each makes them better. Tactical mode. Quarry Loft. Unauthorized presence.
Number 9, XCOM 2. XCOM 2 was the follow-up to XCOM Enemy Unknown in a timeline where XCOM lost the war against the alien invasion. From a gameplay and design standpoint, XCOM 2 is very similar to the first game, and that's not a bad thing since the first game was so good, but for those looking for a starkly different experience, you'll be disappointed. The addition of modding tools was definitely nice, however. XCOM 2 was another game that faced performance issues, but that has been largely remedied. The game was also released on consoles, and while that version isn't as good as the PC version, it's still solid and makes a nice transition over.
I'm pinned down here. Grenade! Target neutralized.
Number 8, Overwatch. 2016 brought with it several marquee first-person shooters, arguably none as successful as Blizzard's Overwatch. Overwatch does a lot of things right. Its unique presentation that makes its characters and worlds a lot more alive than other shooters, the accessible online play that has room for both casual players as well as those that want to master the game and adapt to different heroes and roles. It's great for both sides, and this is a game that Blizzard will constantly be rolling out support for, so expect Overwatch to have a lot of longevity. It's available on PC, PS4, and Xbox One.
This might sting.
Number 7, Titanfall 2. With so many first-person shooters that came out in 2016, some were bound to fall under the radar, and that's where Titanfall 2 was. It had the unfortunate fate of being released around the time as two other FPS behemoths, and it just didn't perform that well commercially. However, this is an exceptional game. Respawn Studios went back and fixed all the problems with the first Titanfall game. Now there's a campaign mode, and it's actually pretty good. And the multiplayer has a ton of added depth with a lot more content. We just hope that this is a game that sustains an active online player base. If you're a fan of first-person shooters, I would highly recommend Titanfall 2. It's available on PC, PS4, and Xbox One.
You are dominating. 2 out, now the rest. Sector A is clear of remnant fleet forces.
Number 6, Forza Horizon 3. Forza has been one of the Xbox One staple franchises when you talk about the best racing game series. Forza is number 1. It has surpassed Gran Turismo, and that's because of the consistency of the franchise. Horizon is different than the traditional motorsport games in that it's an open world racing game, and Horizon 3 features a world twice the size of Horizon 2. It's set in Australia, and the environments are gorgeous, and it's a blast to explore the world. There's also an insane amount of content. Whether you've been a fan of the franchise or you're completely new to racing games, Forza Horizon 3 is a worthwhile experience. It's available on PC and Xbox One. Number 5, Battlefield 1. Battlefield 1 was a refreshing take on Battlefield. While the series has always had a large following, after Battlefield Hardline, it was getting a bit stale. That's why with Battlefield 1's World War I setting, it was the shot in the arm the series needed. However, after playing for a while, you can still tell this is Battlefield with the chaotic and intense multiplayer that you know and love. Operations was a nice addition, and the map design was on point. The single-player campaign in BF1 is also really good. It's still super short, but a nice diversion. Aesthetically, the game was excellent, visually great, and the soundtrack was also really good. If you're a fan of Battlefield but were getting a bit burnt out by past year's games, then you should definitely give BF1 a look. It's available on PC, PS4, and Xbox One.
Flame Trooper kit is available near your location.
Munition für dich. Meine Wunden müssen versorgt werden. Ist hier irgendwo ein Sanitäter?
Number 4, Inside. Inside was the latest game from Playdead, the guys that are known for creating one of the best indie games ever in Limbo. Inside is very similar to Limbo in style. It's a 2.5D puzzle platformer that's incredibly dark and silent. You play as a boy that can run, swim, climb, and as you progress through the game, you start understanding the world more and more. If you are a fan of Limbo, Inside will be right up your alley, and most people that played Limbo enjoyed it, so most of you will probably like Inside too. The game was released as a timed exclusive on Xbox One, but at this point is also available on PC and PS4. Number 3, Final Fantasy 15. After 10 long years, Final Fantasy 15 was released this year. Did it live up to the enormous hype? It's hard to say. Let's start with the good. The world of Final Fantasy 15 is amazing. It's enormous, filled with engaging content, and so much to do with so much variety. Technically, the game is on another level and is arguably the best looking console game ever, with some jaw-dropping bosses and gameplay sections. Combat was fast and fluid, maybe a little too simplistic, but it was good. The major issue with the game comes from the story department. It's arguably the weakest in the series, and it's just a disjointed mess. I would say that the good outweighs the poor story, but that might vary person to person. The game is still superb, and I'd highly recommend it to anyone a fan of open world games. You just have to know what you're getting yourself into. Final Fantasy 15 is available on PS4 and Xbox One.
There they are. Wanna take them out?
Oh yeah. Scrappy's got with them. Protect them. See ya! It's not gonna stop us.
Where do they keep coming from?
Can't imagine what it's like in here.
It's past time your legend came to an end.
Number 2, Dark Souls 3. Souls developed into one of the most iconic franchises of the last decade, and this year From Software ended the Dark Souls franchise, at least for now, with Dark Souls 3. This is the culmination of all of their work, from Demon Souls to Dark Souls to Bloodborne. Atmospherically, Dark Souls 3 is amazing in that it really absorbs the player into the world. Combat is refined and smooth, the best in the series. It did have some performance issues at first, but those have been remedied through patches. If you're a fan of Souls, you've probably already played Dark Souls 3, and if not, you should do so ASAP. The game is available on PC, PS4, and Xbox One. Before we get to number 1, let's go through some honorable mentions. Ratchet & Clank,
Mr. Zircon still hears hearts beating. Mr. Zircon delivers a...
Civilization 6,
Our enemy knows as well. They have hit us close to heart, destroying valuable resources.
Stardew Valley, Deus Ex Mankind Divided,
Dread. Fight and circumvent has now grown exponentially.
Doom. Finally, number 1, Uncharted for A Thief's End. Naughty Dog has become one of, if not the best game developer in the world. Crash, Jak and Daxter, The Last of Us, and of course Uncharted. Uncharted began back in 2007, and this year Naughty Dog closed the book on Nathan Drake with Uncharted for A Thief's End. This is the pinnacle of the franchise in every way. Technically, the game looks outstanding, but you'd expect that with this being the first game built on the PS4. The story is the most engaging in series history, the dynamic between the Drakes will keep you hooked, and the pacing of the game is perfect. The ending was also very satisfying, and from a gameplay perspective, it's some great cover-based third-person shooter with great puzzles as well. And then there's the quality multiplayer mode. Uncharted 4 is not only the best game of 2016, but it might be the best game this generation so far. It's a system seller for the PlayStation 4. So that wraps up our countdown of the top 10 best games of 2016. What do you think? What were your favorite games of the year? Did we rate a game too highly, too low, forgot to mention a game? Let us know your thoughts in the comment section down below. Thank you for watching, and goodbye.